Corpus Christi is one of the most intriguing festivals in Christian tradition. Have you ever stopped to think about the true meaning of this celebration? Many of us participate in this feast, walking through streets decorated with colorful carpets, but how many truly understand what lies behind this sacred event? Its true origin and significance remain unknown to many, even among those who celebrate it fervently year after year. Today, let's dive into this fascinating story and uncover together what really happened. The story of Corpus Christi is often distorted and misunderstood by many Christians. There is a wealth of details and a deep historical context that needs to be explored for us to fully understand the importance of this festival. In this video, we will uncover the mysteries and truths surrounding Corpus Christi, starting with the crisis of faith of a priest who lived many centuries ago. Let's go to the video. The whole story begins in the year 1263. In the heart of medieval Europe, faith and religion were the driving forces of society. Europe was a mosaic of fervent beliefs and intense religious practices, where the church played a central role in people's daily lives. It was in this setting that the figure of Peter emerged, a priest from Prague, whose spiritual journey will take us to the core of what we now know as Corpus Christi. Peter, a priest from Prague, was going through a great crisis of faith. He was a devout man, dedicated to his ministry, but something was gnawing at his soul. Deep doubts began to haunt him, questions that would lead him on a desperate search for answers. He had doubts about the real presence of Jesus Christ in the Holy Eucharist, one of the fundamental pillars of the Christian faith. How could he continue to serve and guide his flock if he himself was full of uncertainties? Overcome by this spiritual anguish, Peter decided to make a pilgrimage to Rome, the eternal city. He believed that only in the presence of the greatest symbols of the Christian faith could he find the peace and answers he so desperately sought. The pilgrimage was seen as a journey of purification and spiritual renewal, a path that many followed in the hope of finding a rebirth in their faith. The purpose of his pilgrimage was clear: to find answers and strengthen his faith. Peter set out with the hope that this journey would bring him the clarity he so needed. Each step he took towards Rome was laden with expectations and silent prayers. A man in search of a greater truth, a meaning that could restore his belief in the divine presence in the Eucharist. As Peter advanced on his journey, he met other pilgrims, all with their own stories of quest and faith. Each encounter was an opportunity for reflection and sharing experiences, creating a network of spiritual support that helped him face his doubts. The pilgrimage was not just a physical path but a profound inner journey, where each mile covered represented a battle against his own uncertainties. Arriving in Rome, Peter visited the basilicas, the tombs of the martyrs, and the great sanctuaries of the Christian faith. He sought signs, miracles, anything that could renew his faith. He prayed fervently, imploring for a sign from God that would confirm the real presence of Christ in the Eucharist. His soul was in torment, but he did not give up, persisting in his quest with tireless determination. And it was during this pilgrimage that something extraordinary happened. Something that would change his life and the future of the Corpus Christi celebration forever. The answer Peter sought was about to be revealed, and with it, a miracle that would reaffirm the faith of millions of Christians over the centuries. In the next segment, we will explore this miracle in detail and understand how it gave rise to the festival we know and celebrate today. Stay with us as we uncover the complete story of Corpus Christi and Peter's profound transformation of faith. The city of Bolsena, situated on the shores of Lake Bolsena, is known for its deep devotion to Saint Christina. This sacred place attracts pilgrims from all over, eager to learn about the miracles associated with this saint. Saint Christina, a virgin and martyr of the 4th century, is revered not only for her unshakable faith but also for the miracles that marked her life and death. The story of Saint Christina is marked by a series of extraordinary events. Converted to Christianity at a young age, she faced a path of misfortunes and persecutions. Her father, a pagan Roman official, did not accept her new faith and tried in every way to make her renounce Christianity. Christina was subjected to various attempts of martyrdom, each crueler than the last, but her faith remained unbreakable. Among the many torments she suffered, one of the most notable was when her father ordered her to be thrown into Lake Bolsena with a stone tied around her neck. This desperate act aimed to drown her and put an end to her life of devotion. However, a miracle happened. The stone, instead of dragging Christina to the bottom of the lake, miraculously floated, holding her above the waters. The young saint remained unharmed, floating on the surface of the lake, to the astonishment of all present. The footprints of Saint Christina were imprinted on the stone that floated with her. These traces became an object of veneration and devotion for the faithful, a tangible proof of the miracle and divine protection over the saint. To this day, the stone with Christina's footprints is preserved and revered in the city of Bolsena, attracting devotees who seek to strengthen their faith. If you're curious to know what happens next, please click the like button and continue following our journey through the fascinating history of Corpus Christi. Now, let's delve into the miracle of the bleeding host, an event that forever changed Peter's life and the celebration of Christian faith. Peter, still on his pilgrimage, arrived in Bolsena and was touched by the story of Saint Christina. Inspired by the faith and miracles attributed to her, he decided to celebrate a special Mass asking for the saint's intercession. During the celebration, he asked for confirmation of the real presence of Christ in the Eucharist, something that was at the heart of his crisis of faith. During this Mass, something absolutely extraordinary happened. At the moment of consecration, the consecrated host began to bleed. Blood flowed from the host, staining Peter's hands and the corporal on the altar. This miracle was a direct response to Peter's prayers, an undeniable sign of the real presence of Christ in the Eucharist. The event was so impactful that it left Peter overwhelmed with a mix of emotion, awe, and spiritual relief. The doubts that tormented him were dispelled, replaced by renewed faith and gratitude. Peter, still taken by emotion, carefully placed the bleeding host on the corporal, revering the miracle he had just witnessed. News of the miracle quickly spread through the church, attracting other priests who came to verify the event. The miracle of the bleeding host not only confirmed Peter's faith, but also became a powerful testimony for all who witnessed it. The repercussion of the miracle was immense, leading to a renewal of faith among the faithful and greater devotion to the Eucharist. This extraordinary event solidified the importance of Corpus Christi in Christian tradition, reminding everyone of the real presence of Christ in the Holy Eucharist and the power of miracles in Christian faith. In the next segment, we will continue to explore the consequences of this miracle and how it shaped the celebration of Corpus Christi over the centuries. Stay with us for more revelations about this fascinating story of faith and miracles. Peter, with a renewed heart and unwavering faith, decided to take the miraculously blood-stained corporal to Pope Urban IV. Upon arriving in Rome, he presented the corporal to the Pope, who immediately recognized the miracle as a divine sign of Christ's real presence in the Eucharist. This event was a watershed moment for the Church, marking a moment of profound revelation and confirmation of the Christian faith. Parallel to this story is the fascinating tale of Saint Juliana of Liège. Juliana, an Augustinian nun of the 13th century, began having mystical visions from a young age. In one of these visions, she saw a white disk with a dark spot. Initially perplexed, Juliana sought to understand the meaning of this vision, believing it contained a divine message. After much reflection and prayer, Juliana interpreted her vision as an indication of the need for a specific feast to celebrate the Eucharist. She believed the dark spot on the white disk represented the absence of a feast dedicated exclusively to the exaltation of the Holy Eucharist in the Church's liturgical calendar. Convinced that this was God's will, Juliana set out to spread this message. However, Juliana hesitated for 20 years to share her visions. Uncertainty and fear of the reaction from ecclesiastical authorities made her hold back the message for 2 decades. Eventually, encouraged by friends and spiritual advisors, she began to spread her vision, finding support among some church leaders. A key figure in spreading Juliana's message was the priest Jacques Pantaleon. Years later, Jacques Pantaleon became Pope Urban IV. Knowing Juliana's visions and deeply impacted by the miracle of the bleeding host brought by Peter, Pope Urban IV saw a divine connection between the events and the need to institute a feast to celebrate the Eucharist. To confirm the veracity of the miracle, Pope Urban IV summoned renowned theologians of the time, including Saint Thomas Aquinas and Saint Bonaventure. After a rigorous investigation, both confirmed the authenticity of the miracle, further solidifying the importance of the event for the Church. In a gesture of profound reverence, a delegation was organized to take the relics back to Orvieto. Crowds joined the procession, witnessing one of the most solemn and significant moments in the Church's history. When the relics arrived in Orvieto, Pope Urban IV knelt in adoration of the Eucharist, marking the first Eucharistic procession. Recognizing the need to perpetuate the celebration of this miracle, Pope Urban IV issued the bull Je Transitoris, decreeing the creation of the Feast of Corpus Christi. This feast was instituted to reaffirm faith in the real presence of Christ in the Eucharist, a fundamental truth for the Catholic Church. The institution of the Feast of Corpus Christi served as a powerful reminder of the importance of miracles in confirming the Christian faith. These divine signs, like the miracle of the bleeding host, were tangible proofs of the real presence of Christ in the consecrated bread and wine, strengthening the devotion and belief of the faithful over the centuries. As we reflect on the depth and impact of these events, we can appreciate how faith, devotion, and miracles intertwine in the Church's history, shaping practices and celebrations that continue to inspire millions of Christians around the world. The Feast of Corpus Christi, born of mystical visions and divine miracles, remains an eternal testament to the real presence of Christ in the Eucharist. Pope Urban IV, determined to create a celebration worthy of the miracle of the bleeding host and the visions of Saint Juliana of Liège, summoned some of the greatest theologians of the time to compose hymns and prayers that expressed the depth and solemnity of the new Feast of Corpus Christi. He wanted to ensure that this celebration was accompanied by a rich and meaningful liturgy that could convey the importance of the Eucharist to all the faithful. Saint Thomas Aquinas, one of the most renowned theologians of his time, was chosen for this sacred task. Among his various compositions, he wrote the Eliuda Shaun, a hymn that eloquently and profoundly expresses the belief in the real presence of Christ in the Eucharist. This hymn became a central piece in the Corpus Christi liturgy, celebrating the transubstantiation of bread and wine into the body and blood of Christ. The recognition of Eliuda Shaun, it was immediate and universal. All the theologians present, upon hearing and reading St. Thomas Aquinas' hymn, tore their own manuscripts in a symbolic gesture of reverence and acceptance. They acknowledged the superiority and beauty of St. Thomas' words, which perfectly captured the essence of the miracle and the depth of the Christian faith. Eliuda Shaun became the official hymn of the Feast of Corpus Christi. Its words and melodies echoed through churches, touching the hearts of the faithful and strengthening their devotion to the Eucharist. This hymn not only beautified the liturgy but also served as a powerful instrument of catechesis, teaching and reaffirming the doctrine of the real presence of Christ in the Eucharist. The first celebration of Corpus Christi, held under the guidance of Pope Urban IV, marked a moment of profound devotion and joy in the Church. The Eucharistic procession, in which the Blessed Sacrament was carried through the streets, allowed the faithful to publicly express their faith and adoration. This procession symbolized Christ's journey among his people, bringing blessings and spiritual renewal. The Cathedral of Orvieto, built to house the blood-stained corporal, became a symbol of Orvieto's importance in the history of Corpus Christi. This majestic cathedral not only preserved the sacred relic but also served as a lasting testimony to the miracle of Bolsena and Peter's unwavering faith. The cathedral became a pilgrimage destination, attracting devotees from all parts. The legacy of the Feast of Corpus Christi is immense and profound. Celebrating the miracle of Bolsena and the vision of Saint Juliana of Liège, the feast strengthens the faith of millions of Christians around the world. It reaffirms the centrality of the Eucharist in the life of the Church, reminding everyone of the real presence of Christ among us. The Eucharistic procession, one of the most striking features of the celebration, continues to be held in countless parishes and dioceses. These processions are moments of great reverence and unity, where the faithful gather to worship the Blessed Sacrament and renew their faith. They symbolize the spiritual pilgrimage of every Christian, following Christ in all the journeys of life. The liturgy and hymns composed for Corpus Christi have enriched not only the celebration itself but also the liturgical life of the Church as a whole. The Eliuda Shaun and other compositions by St. Thomas Aquinas are sung and prayed with devotion, keeping alive the memory of the miracles and the message of faith they convey. The impact of Corpus Christi on the lives of Christians is enduring. Each celebration, each procession, each hymn sung reaffirms the belief in the real presence of Christ in the Eucharist. This spiritual legacy, born of miracles and visions, continues to inspire and strengthen the faith of the faithful, keeping the flame of Eucharistic devotion alive in every Christian heart. The diversity of religious beliefs is a reality that enriches and challenges human coexistence. Not all religions celebrate Corpus Christi, and this is due to the different beliefs and practices that each spiritual tradition adopts. For some, the Eucharist does not hold the same significance as it does for Catholics, leading to different forms of worship and celebration. These theological differences reflect varied interpretations of the nature of the Eucharist. While Catholics believe in the real presence of Christ in the consecrated bread and wine, other Christian denominations may see the Eucharist as a symbol or memorial, and other religions may not have Eucharistic practices in their worship. These theological divergences are a natural aspect of humanity's rich spiritual tapestry. Despite these differences, the importance of mutual respect cannot be underestimated. Regardless of religious beliefs, it is essential to recognize and value the faith and practices of others. Respect for different religious traditions is a principle that should guide our interactions and our understanding of the world around us. The universal principles of faith in God, love, compassion, and mutual respect are values that transcend religious boundaries. They are the foundation for building a more tolerant and inclusive world, where differences are celebrated rather than seen as barriers. By promoting these values, we contribute to a more harmonious and peaceful coexistence. The celebration of Corpus Christi, although specific to the Catholic faith, can be seen as an example of how faith and devotion can inspire and strengthen communities. Even those who do not share the same belief can appreciate the beauty and depth of the faith manifested in these celebrations and recognize the positive impact they have on the lives of the faithful. Building a more tolerant and inclusive world requires effort and commitment from everyone. We must strive to understand the perspectives of others and find points of connection and understanding. Interfaith dialogue is a powerful tool to promote peace and cooperation among different communities. By recognizing and respecting religious diversity, we are strengthening the bonds that unite us as human beings. Each religion brings with it a wealth of wisdom and tradition that can contribute to the collective well-being. Mutual respect is key to harnessing this wealth constructively and beneficially for all. As we conclude this video, I hope you have enjoyed our journey through the history of Corpus Christi and the importance of this celebration in the Catholic faith. Subscribe to the channel to continue receiving content that explores the depth and beauty of religious traditions around the world. Your support is essential for us to continue producing videos that inform and inspire. I sincerely thank you for watching and following this series on Corpus Christi. Hugs and God bless you. May divine peace and light guide all your paths.